check levels, or we good?
We should probably double check.
Check. 1 2 1 2. Mic check. Check.
Not helpful. Hey guys, welcome to the Orc-Chop Express. I am your podmaster, Michael Goodman, and I have a few DMs with me in the room this evening. I have Brett Rude.
Hi.
I have James Houhan. That's how I said it last time. It's James Houlihan. I slurred it.
You did slur it.
I did. I'm sorry.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, and John King.
Hello.
We also
seriously said Houhan?
No, I said Houlihan, but I kind of slurred it too fast, and it sounds like Houlihan.
I'm calling you that from now on.
Yeah.
People are just going to misspell it anyway.
Yeah. And we also have Tiffany Rude in the house. She's just kind of chilling. She's listening.
Say hi
She's
as
hanging
loud
out.
as you can.
Yeah, say hi.
Hi.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you pick that up?
It came through.
Enunciated.
Yeah.
She's very quiet.
All right, hey, let's jump into what we're excited about this week. James, what do you got going on?
Oh, I'm actually super excited about a YouTube channel I found. I think if you search for it on YouTube, it's just called Tabletop Gaming. Mm-hmm. Shut the fuck up. But this dude Dave does rules explanations basically.
Yeah, you were telling us about that.
Yeah, and it's basically, and normally it's not the sort of thing I would go for, but just lately, I just don't have the time to be, like back in the day when I was in like high school or whatever, and like even in college, like I really enjoyed like just spending hours just going through the books and looking at all the cool rules and stuff. Mm-hmm. But lately, it's like I commute to work, I go work, and then I come home, and by the time I get home, the last thing I want to do is be like, sweet, what I'm going to do is read a textbook for a few hours. And obviously it's not as dry as a textbook, but it's explaining rules and like flanking and all this stuff. And what's cool is this dude's channel, like he basically just goes through all the rules. And he's got a series, a bunch of different playlists, so you can be like, oh cool, I don't really understand stealth, for example, or like spell casting if you're your first time playing a caster or something. And you can just go through and like I'll just throw it on while I'm driving, and that's how I'm picking up actually a lot of the rules. Like it's actually really cool and not only does he explain the rules, but he's pulling all the different mentions of the rules from all over the books into one spot. So he's like going through all of the stuff.
Does he have one
everything.
on sneak attack damage?
I don't think it's
and surprise.
Actually, I think he does have one. It's titled like "Is Stealth or Sneak Attack OP" or some shit like that. But then there's also like
I wonder.
Actually, I think we got that. I think we got it pretty.
We actually squared it away pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does have one that's like the differences between hiding, stealth, and invisibility, which is actually pretty cool because there is a delineation.
I did think that was interesting because he kept mentioning how people thought that when you took the hide action that you turned invisible. And I, for one, never thought that. I was like, why would you think you're invisible?
I think people think it mechanically, right? Like, I passed my hide checks so now people can't see me because I passed my hide. So
you're not invisible.
Yeah.
So it's like
standing in the middle of an alleyway.
It's like throwing a blanket over you and you're like, you can't see me.
Yeah.
Well, I love this example, too. It's like, hide is kind of where like, oh shit, someone's coming. Like, hide behind the curtains. It's like, no matter how well you roll, if there's like, a dragon right there and he's like hears you in the room, he knows you're there, and you roll your hide, he's still gonna find you. So I've been listening to that on the way to work and on the way home, and I listened to it on the way to pick up John, and it's super awesome. I definitely recommend people check it out.
I'm gonna check that out because I don't have time to read the book either. Like I was telling Brett, I only read up to level 3 of what a barbarian can do because I don't have time.
They do have class ones, I think.
And that's awesome. I'm gonna check that. What's it called again?
Tabletop Gaming, and actually I think he mentions a couple times. I guess he has another personal one called Tabletopping, and I was like, ooh, I don't know, that's getting a little weird.
Actually, I think that was the one I was watching.
Yeah, that's like a whole other thing.
No. But it was a pay site. No, but I'm kidding. The guy was awesome.
In all seriousness, it's a really cool channel, and like I brought it up actually before our last game just because I had learned a bunch of stuff, even just about stuff you think you already know about, like basic actions. Like there's all these different really cool things, and it's kind of one of those situations where it's like, read the book. There's all sorts of cool shit in here, but like really there is like things like the dodge action, just being able to, just knowing that you can move, attack until you run out of attacks and movement, stuff like that, that are small differences since the last editions, but are extremely powerful if you use them correctly. So I definitely recommend people check it out.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I want to check it out. What do you got going on, Brett?
I'm trying to decide exactly which thing to talk about, so I'll just keep it short for two. One is, in our last game, we came into ownership of a bar/pub,
which we're gonna have a great overview for you guys. We're
Yeah.
gonna talk about our whole last episode for you guys because I deleted it on accident.
So we'll be breaking it down in as great a detail as we can remember.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll do voices. We'll even pretend to roll dice.
Yeah. We'll bring Tiffany in to say a couple of her.
She's got a
epic
couple
lines.
catchphrases
But
now.
I'm actually excited to do that, and I almost kind of wish we would do some of those recap style things in general, just because, even for you guys, because listeners might be, thinking, okay, they're running Lost Mine of Phandelver, so I know how this is going to go. But I've been making a lot of tweaks and changes just to suit the backgrounds and fit the different characters that everybody's playing. So my goal is to have it be something where people are going to listen in and they won't really know exactly what's going on because,
Sure.
the last half of that entire adventure was completely added in. So, it should be fun.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go back to you, Brett. I just wanted to plug that in really quick because people might, the few listeners we have so far might wonder, why are we missing an episode this week? Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Shit
It's,
happens.
hey, yeah. Growing pains or new podcasts, and that happens. But
Meh.
don't let it happen again, Mike.
It won't happen.
Never fucking let that shit happen again.
Max up. That's all I'm going to say. I'm getting there okay.
So back to what you're excited about, Brett.
So anyway, after the last adventure, we took over the Sleeping Giant.
The Sleeping Giant tap room,
Yeah, the Sleeping Giant tap room. And we've had a name for a pub, tap room, bar in our heads for a while called the Barfing Bugbear.
That was ever since the first episode
Yeah.
of our first session of Lost Mine of Phandelver. That's from, I think, Clark, right?
Before Clark, actually, we encountered these goblins, and I cast an illusion of a bugbear
That's
to try
what it
to
was.
scare them because I knew that they were following a bugbear. And so I cast this illusion, and they weren't really buying it. But then Nada came up behind the illusion and did her acid spray, breath weapon, barf.
That's what I totally
through the
forgot about
bugbear, from behind the bugbear. So we said that it just looked like the bugbear started vomiting all over the goblins, and they started burning and dying. And then we were talking about the barfing bugbear. We said that sounds like a great tavern name.
Yeah.
And so it's been kind of our goal to open a tavern called the Barfing Bugbear. So what's awesome about it is, one of the things I wanted to do, I mentioned on the last per DM, is we're converting this garage into our play space for D&D. I wanted to kind of put some things up around here to make it look or feel like the Barfing Bugbear, like a big mounted head of a bugbear. I'm actually gonna brand the bottom of our table to say property of the Barfing Bugbear. Just little things like like you would if you owned the table.
It's like
in
the
case someone took
nerdiest
it.
Easter egg ever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Just in case I end up down there someday.
I'm like hooking cables up underneath. I'm like,
Keep
oh,
drinking
Brett did
enough
that.
of
That's really
vodka,
great.
you'd see it.
Yeah. So yeah. So, and I'm also excited because so we leveled up, and I'm gonna be taking the Magic Mouth spell. And so
God.
I'm going to put a little intro thing when people walk into the Barfing Bugbear to say, "Welcome to the Barfing Bugbear."
Welcome to the D&D world.
Exactly. Or make the statue of the bugbear out front talk to people.
Yeah, you
So-
said that it lasts forever, right? Like it never goes away.
I can set it up. I'll double check the rules, but I believe I can set it up just to trigger whenever a certain thing happens. And I would say whenever, I don't know, someone walks within 10 feet, or whenever someone drinks a shot of this certain liquor, like this mouth will appear and say this thing, or maybe it'll even be on the tables, like telling them what the menu
I'm
is.
shaking my head because I'm pretty positive every time we go back, Brett's gonna be like, "Welcome to the barfing bugbear."
Yeah,
Like,
I think that might happen.
you're like, "Oh, well, I go to the blacksmith, and I just got back to the barfing bugbear.
Welcome to the barfing bugbear.
You just record him doing that once and just play it every
place
time.
it in every time."
That's awful.
I'm going to the other tap room.
Yeah, we're gonna lose listeners that way.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
And then, just really quick, the
Yeah.
other thing I've been having a lot of fun with is both with Tiffany and Mike. I've been chatting with you guys about your characters in the game. Tiffany, you and I talk about it almost nightly with Lyra, and kind of figuring out some of the abilities that she's getting and unlocking some of the stuff. And I was listening to the guy we were just talking about earlier, David, and his tips and tricks on the dodge and disengage and all those abilities. So we were having a lot of fun planning that out, and I'm really excited to see Lyra in action now. Not that I wasn't before. And then also, just tonight, I was talking to Mike about his barbarian dwarf, Rannon.
Barbarian rage.
Barbarian rage.
Don't do it better.
Oh, sorry. Barbarian rage. There, I did it worse to make up for the better.
Okay.
That's still pretty good.
Ovalt is very much a non-combatant, very much a support wizard, just creating illusions and doing fun things like that. So it's kind of fun mechanically playing around with your guys' characters and kind of living vicariously through you guys. So I've been having fun with that.
Cool. What do you got going on, John?
Mine too is going to be about characters, or character, I should say. My ranger leveled, so I'm quite happy about that. So
We're all super happy about leveling.
Yeah.
it's weird.
After the last session, everyone's like, "So how much XP do we get? Huh? Everyone's messaging me on Facebook. I'm like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Okay, I'll get to it.
Yeah, I needed that XP.
I need to
needed
know
it
for 2
badly.
weeks from now. I need to know.
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep.
I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
Had the shakes.
The session's not for 2 weeks. I gotta know now.
I need a level. But of course, I'm
Fucking
doing.
crackheads.
Yes. I'm XP crackhead for sure.
I'm a dice head.
Give me that. Give me that XP. Give me that XP.
Just like 50 XP, man.
Hurry up, Daddy. Daddy, give me that XP. That's what I do.
Just waiting if someone's gonna go there.
Yeah. No.
Just a little hit.
That's how they do it, dude. You go down to like Leavenworth and Eddie or something like that. They're just handing out XP on the corners.
D&D, it's a gateway game.
It's a
my
gateway
God.
game, indeed.
What if there were dudes like that just go down to the local game store and they'd be like, "Hey, bro,
Okay.
I'll run you on like a super chill adventure. You get all of XP. Get like
$10, man.
get like 1,000 XP. All you gotta do is like kill 2 goblins and like solve a crossword puzzle.
Yo,
$10 for one dice bag.
Really? Yeah.
Yo,
Yeah.
dude, you
Cost you $50.
you got a dime adventure?
Okay, moving on.
So, John, tell us about your character.
Yeah. Well, so I'm gonna go down to the local game store. I'm gonna get some XP so I can get to level 5. And it'll be really exciting.
He shows up as like 10th level. Check this out, guys. You do that?
I show up. I'm 10th level, but I'm like 130 pounds. What you guys do to do that?
Don't worry about it, man. Just run me through this adventure. I got 10 attacks. Let's go.
James is practically crying over there. The face has gone into the arm.
I went down and saw DM Gator.
But of course,
Oh god damn.
I'm doing the most boring of upgrades just to my attributes. But I can't.
Hey, that's legit.
Yeah,
I have
I haven't
to.
gotten that yet.
No, I have to. I can't be the second best at dexterity.
Oh shit.
You want to chime in on
You
that?
got one up?
Yeah. Come on in. You wanna talk about that?
About dexterity?
Oh, you got one up.
Well,
son.
he's kind of calling you out.
20 dexterity?
Yeah,
What's your-
now do I.
Oh. You guys are gonna have like a Robin Hood style arrow off.
How about this? What's your stealth?
Oh, that doesn't matter. You're a rogue.
Yeah, that's not fair.
Acrobatics.
Like,
That's
how
not
many
fair.
animals can you tame?
Oh, that doesn't matter either.
Okay, I think we got to
Oh, man.
roll off.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
Man. They both have their apps up
Yeah,
and
everyone's
running.
got their smartphones and their dice out.
Just roll it off. Both of you
Yeah,
roll
come on.
d20.
What am I adding to
Oh,
it?
she beat me.
Oh, you fucked
short
up,
bet.
son.
well,
Is it 7?
Mm-hmm.
all right. So what do you got?
What'd you get?
She beat me.
22.
She's the better of the archers.
Better look next time.
Guess what? I'm
How-
retiring.
But you're a ranger, so how is that
Like,
fair that we're two?
Oh,
Yeah,
now she's just
opposed.
talking down.
Oh,
That's fine.
Right down that elvish nose.
Let's go rapier.
Best out of 3?
Rapier?
Rapier to rapier.
Best out of 3 is fair.
Best out of 3.
What are you guys dueling now?
Oh, jeez. I
Yeah,
think
you
she
should
won
just.
me in that.
Yeah, you gotta cut your losses, man.
23. What you got?
26.
You do not want to
Yeah,
fuck with the
you
Orc-Chop
gotta-
Express.
What are we doing?
No,
I'm
This-
doing bow again.
no,
Just
that's
to
his.
do it.
That's his running away roll.
Oh!
Did she just nat?
Natural 20.
Nat 20.
Hold on.
John, you
Tiffany got
you
the natural
officially have
check
lower
this out.
dexterity in all games with her
Yeah.
regardless. Like,
So check this out. I'm deleting Traynor. I'm not playing him anymore.
Oh, come on.
I'm done. Well, I lost. That's cool. I'm gone.
Yeah,
Later.
You'll be okay.
so it's pretty cool you added to your dexterity.
It didn't help. It
Yeah.
didn't help any.
Well, maybe next time.
Well, I personally am pretty excited for a comic book
Really?
that I started reading called Rat Queens. Have you guys heard of that?
No, it sounds kind of cool.
It's pretty awesome. So it's basically a party of 4 female adventurers, and they're called the Rat Queens. And there's like a character named Hannah who's like a rockabilly elven mage, and Violet who's a dwarven warrior. Anyway, so it seems
Oh,
pretty
sounds
cool.
cool.
I started reading it, and it's really cool. I was listening to the official
Oh, wow.
D&D.
That looks cool.
Oh, cool! Did you pull up a picture, John?
Oh, neat.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So I was listening to the official Wizards D&D podcast, and they had the writer on the show, and he was talking about it. So I checked it
Oh,
out,
sweet.
and yeah, it's really cool. I'm excited. I bought the first volume on Amazon or whatever, so I got the first 5 issues for like $5. So I'm starting to read it. It's pretty good so far. So
Looks like it's distributed through Image Comics, so if you guys are looking for it.
Oh,
check
so it's
that
like
out.
super legit.
Yeah, it's real legit. Looks good.
yeah, the artwork's awesome
Yeah, it
too.
looks-
The
it
artwork's
looks
really good,
great.
and I like the story so far. So
That's awesome.
Like told me they draw hands the same way I do.
yeah, I was looking at the images. I was like, dude, you'd actually really dig the style. Like, they have the same hands as you. It's a really weird comment. But
no,
like,
but I take that as a huge compliment because hands are freaking hard to do.
yeah. So Brett's a really good artist. He does a lot of comic book style art.
Yeah.
Why, thank you.
You're not that good.
Check out this comic. Everyone's got baby
That's a
hands.
running theme, isn't it? You give me a
hands.
compliment, and then I say thank you. You say you're not that
No,
good.
Yeah.
all his hands and
Yeah,
feet are
pretty
hidden
much.
behind fog.
Well,
right.
let's jump into our main topics. And actually, before we do, I
Let's.
wanna give a shout out to Tess at RPG Cast. She added us onto
yeah.
her website, which is really cool. And for those of you who don't know what it is, it's a website where basically a friend of hers asked for her recommendations. I believe if I got this right, a friend of her asked for her recommendations about what podcast she listens to. So she decided, since there was nowhere to really find all of these role-playing podcasts in one area, she created a website to put it all in one spot. So it's rpgcast.com. It's really cool. You guys should check it out.
Yeah, it's a slick looking site. I liked it.
Yeah, the interface is really cool too. Yeah. So let's jump into our first topic, and we're going to talk about adding skills that are not actually skills, i.e., appraisal. Who wants to jump in and start on this?
I can weigh in if you guys are cool. I mean, it's at least to me this is kind of a quick and dirty one, but I mean, basically, you really have to just tailor it to your character's backgrounds because they can only write so many rules and create so many skills. So there are always going to be situations where one character has would have a bonus where the game mechanics don't say he does, like. Traynor is a character that comes from like a dragon hunting lineage. So if there's a situation where there's like, dragon blood on the ground and someone like, rolls a tracking check, I might give him a bonus on that tracking check knowing that it's dragon blood, and he'll be like, oh, you give it a taste and that it's, you can tell that it's dragon blood, or, Ovalt, he's an illusionist. So even though he's got an Arcana skill, if something's an illusion-based spell, I might give him maybe advantage or something like that. So I don't know that you necessarily need to create new skills like that, but just kind of using what's existing in the game already and tweaking it based on the circumstances is kind of your job as a DM. So just kind of taking the reins on that and being creative with it would be my advice.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And you just think about the skill itself and what it takes to do it, and use that ability modifier. So the example was appraisal. I would argue that that's probably an intelligence-based thing. So I'd say, okay, you roll, add your intelligence, and then, oh, you're a dwarf, so you grew up around that? All right, you get a +2 to that. Or, again, like you were saying, using some of the background or previous experience, or, let the player argue their point. Like, oh, I've seen... They may not be great at appraisal, but they've seen this particular thing before. Oh, okay, here's a little bonus. You get advantage or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that where like a player will be like, "Oh, but I know about this, or I come from this background. Do I get a bonus?" Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like,
Yeah, I'd also say sometimes look at your class, because sometimes you'll be given certain things that aren't skills, but you still get a little bonus to or knowledge about. So it's kind of like also having skills that aren't necessarily highlighted, but are still applicable to who your class is, who your character is. So yeah, that's probably the way I would do it. I know there's a lot of people who typically like to have tons of skills, but, typically that's for other games that require you to use tons of skills for a lot of things. But, D&D's a little neater than that, where you don't need to have a metric ton of skills to make yourself feel useful. Usually that's what your party's for, to help you round those out.
And if the player is looking to, say, have appraisal as a skill on their character sheet for all time, that's something you might want to think about a little bit ahead of time. If it's we have this specific gem and you're just trying to appraise it, that's one thing. It's kind of another thing if it's like, going to be on that character sheet for any time he wants to appraise anything ever. You might want to put some kind of condition on it, like, okay, well, you can appraise gems really well, or, and really just think, could he use this to kill a big bad guy or do something crazy that's going to change the entire game? Because I wouldn't put it past some players to be like, oh, I'm going to appraise this thing. You're like, oh, you get a bonus to appraisal. And then later on, I'm really trying to think of a way you could kill a creature using appraisal. But
Well, I realize this is like the
It's
the
psychic
Ruby of-
damage.
Yeah.
You're worth nothing.
the bugbear's like, shut up!
It's like the ruby stone of Malachor or something. It's a
Yeah.
magic stone because of
if
that.
it's like kryptonite or something, it's like some monster's weakness.
So what I'm saying is just be careful with that, distributing those things willy-nilly. But something like appraisal generally is going to be pretty harmless when it comes to affecting your game. But just keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, or feel free to, I'd even say feel free to give, if you really must to, give your character, or ask your DM to give you, your character, like a history skill of some sort.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, and
so you
also,
have to-
I haven't delved too deeply into this, but there are like tool proficiencies and stuff, so maybe that's something you can direct them towards if there's something quasi-related like gem cutting or whatever it is.
Yeah, if they want to use something constantly, maybe make them spend, a feat in that so that they, it can justify why they're constantly doing said thing.
Yeah. I have a question for you guys.
Uh-oh.
Nope.
How
7.
how often have you guys experienced people cheating in D&D? Because this is our Twitter topic, and I put a poll out, and I'll tell you guys what the results are after. But I'm really surprised, I gotta say. I expected it to not really be an issue, but through seeing Reddit conversations and doing this poll, it seems like this is a real issue that comes up a lot for people. And I'm really surprised. Anyways, what do you guys think about people cheating in the game?
This makes me think of our old Cyberpunk games.
What?
What was that guy's name? He was always just walking around in all the heavy gear, and he was cheating.
Dave.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, well, that's funny because I hadn't thought about that. Without that, I was going to be like, nah, not really. I haven't experienced cheating. I mean, in wargaming, we certainly have. That's a whole nother
That's a different
bag.
subject.
But I did, because I was reading Reddit and I saw this thread where this guy was like, this is ruining my game, and this dude's throwing a temper tantrum when I try and call him on it. He rolls his die and picks it up super fast, and
Yeah, I have that up, actually. I have a couple of them.
That
up.
was just painful to read through, man. I was like, oh man. And it's weird too because it's kind of one of those things where you want to, and I try and do this as often as I can, is try and look at the motivation behind it. Like, because if this dude's your friend and he's cheating and ruining the game, it kind of speaks to some more deep-seated issues, right? Like,
Yeah.
why can't you miss with your whatever, like attacks? Why,
Sure.
like if you can't handle like a virtual like fantastic like realm where your character fails a little bit, like, oh man, that's like, you know, you kind of need to take that person aside and be like, okay, let's talk about this. Like, why is this happening? Like, why is this so important to you? And I mean, maybe there's some stuff going on in that person's life where they need like a friend to step in and help them out. But
Sure.
you know, it's just yeah. I mean, that's just fucked up. Like, I can't imagine just being like, I gotta win. Like,
Yeah.
I gotta win at D&D because
I've had those thoughts when I was a teenager, like
Yeah.
learning to play
Yeah.
Magic. Like, I totally just wanted to win, but I mean, I don't know. It comes down to like you really have to appreciate losing, like it to win. You know, like you have to earn it. Like if you don't earn it, like you just
we'll also think
don't
back to
appreciate
some of the cooler moments in our campaigns, right? Like when Traynor was gonna fire an arrow at the Nothic and rolled a 1, and you know, rolled a 1 on his attack, so he started to fall into the chasm, and then he had to make his, you know, acrobatics check to try and like not fall in. Like stuff like that adds excitement and adventure and danger to the game. Without
Yeah.
that stuff, if you had cheated on that roll and said, like, oh sweet, natural 20, I killed it, like that adventure then becomes so boring. Like, cool,
Sure, yeah.
everyone just kind of doing their thing and arrows.
You know
Yeah.
what's funny is I gave you guys the hardest time on our first per diem episode about dice towers, and I started reading this thing, and the first thing I thought it was like, I mean, just fucking make him use a dice tower.
It's funny because I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, man, I gotta that like.
But
Castle
that's probably
Grayskull
because
thing.
we don't have that problem. I'm like, well, they're fucking stupid. Just roll your die. But I mean, if it's really a problem, I mean, it's a good game aid
Yeah.
to solve it.
So one thing is, I think I would dare to guess that most of this cheating is happening by younger players.
Yeah.
I think a lot of younger players don't.
The man is 26 years old.
Oh, yeah.
I just read that right off of this thing. Yeah, you should see the face he's making. He's like, I don't know what to say now.
So, okay, like, I could see when I was younger, you know, in my high school days, you know, maybe flubbing a roll here and there just so I wouldn't feel embarrassed.
I can
'cause we do
admit to
rib
that,
each
like,
other.
especially back in our power gaming
Oh,
days,
yeah,
like
yeah.
when we were spending like weeks planning these like uber characters, you
Yeah.
know, like I remember like the odd roll or two, I'd be like, yeah, I didn't miss that one, but I mean that literally like when you're like, I don't even know, we were like 11 or 12 or
Yeah.
something like that.
Because it's like,
That's
it's
expected.
back then, you can't, you know, when you're at that age, you can't handle ridicule and the sense of failure as well. You feel very personally attached in that sense. When you get older, it's kind of okay because you understand, hey, this is just exciting and fun stuff, and this is a fake character. And what's funny is in the last game that we played, we were fighting a bunch of these bad guys, and I really wished I had the sleep spell prepared because I probably could have knocked out a bunch of the guys. And I'm not gonna lie, I sat there and I looked at my spells and I went, I could just slip that in there and no one would notice.
Some piece of shit.
And then I went, and then I was like, really? I was like, that's fucking lame. Like, I was like, no.
Yeah.
That's... And then the best part about that is it forced me to think of a different way around the situation, and I personally think it was a much more exciting way to do it. You know, I've been playing with the the same friends for eons, and I trust them, you know, through and through. So I wouldn't believe that any of them were cheating anyway. So have I encountered cheating? I don't know. Maybe I have. I just didn't know it. But what I would suggest to any kind of DM... yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh, no.
I'm looking at you, James.
Not for at least 10 years.
My suggestion, and I just remind the DMs that you are in charge, and if you suspect someone of cheating, you know, politely... you know, mention it or say, okay, look, I'm going to need you to roll your dice out in the open because I'm getting a little concerned about how you keep getting these natural 20s every single roll.
Yeah. Well, it's
You know.
funny you mentioned that one. I'll comment on a sec. What did you have to add, James?
I actually just wanted to rewind a little bit to something Brett touched on because I think this is actually really important. And it actually kind of goes even further back to just how D&D is really just another social interaction. So like any other social interaction, when you have a group of people and you're kind of putting them in these virtual stressful situations, it's almost like some sort of like, corporate group exercise where you're, kind of putting these people in a pressure cooker to see how they react. And certain personality traits are going to come to the surface eventually or, immediately in some cases. But the thing that Brett said that really kind of piqued my interest was how when you're young, you identify really strongly with the characters that you're making. Because, especially when you're younger, you're like teenage years, you're going through all these changes and you're kind of figuring out who you are. But that's one thing I see, especially on the internet and even in adults, you see like almost every internet argument can be traced back to the fact that somebody has an opinion or they like this certain thing and they attach that to their identity. Like, I'm the, whatever, like this football team or this UFC fighter or whatever, like that's me. Like, so they perceive attacks on that as attacks on themselves. So you get these arguments where you can't have a discussion because it becomes like, you make one slight criticism of something and then it becomes like, fuck you.
I'm not trying to laugh at you. You're talking about teenage years and all I can think about is the birds and the beholders.
What the fuck? See, I'm trying to like get all serious.
Yeah,
You're like, he's like getting real, looking straight at me, and I'm like giggling about it.
No, but it's true, and it's interesting because I think that probably plays a pretty big part of it, where it's that like being unable to handle a defeat, and I don't know. I mean, like I said, I think that probably speaks to some real life issues those people are going through.
I couldn't agree more, because the other thing that I think, and again, this is a generalization, but I think a lot of younger players, or at least when I was younger, when you create these characters, you're creating an ideal. Like, even with my character Ovalt, like, I'm making him like super charismatic and super fun and funny, like, this kind of character. And a lot of people like to play characters that are an ideal of what they either want to be or an aspect of their life that they would like. And so when you see that character fail, it's a reminder that everyone fails.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, when they're creating their character, they're creating this ideal image of what they want the perfect character to be, and sometimes they can't handle that character failing. And I think that just comes with maturity or just world wisdom.
Yeah.
Acceptance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you failed your wisdom check. It'll get better. But
Don't worry.
I mean, I would take those as an opportunity to make your character more badass. Like, in Trainor's example, like his next roll, he made his acrobatics check and like did a flip and like caught his hands on the ledge, and then again that made that encounter a lot more fun, and it gave the rest of the players an idea of how he reacts when shit isn't going well. So that's kind of the. And Chris Perkins even said in our first podcast, his response was like, create a flawed character because that's more fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of comes back to that.
Well, I think kind of like what you guys are saying, that's an acceptance of getting older versus being younger. Now, I can't speak for this 26-year-old dude. You would hope that maybe he'd have better sense, maybe he doesn't want to be embarrassed. I don't know. But, I mean, it's like when you're young, I had so many characters that I never wanted to see get hurt or anything like it would affect me. And I wouldn't think about it. I'd be like, man, I'd get really pissed. I'd get angry. I'd be thinking like, oh man, how do I do this? Would I flub something? But, I realize it's not real and it's okay. And then as you get older, it's definitely more not real. You're just trying to have a little bit of fun and play something, and just do it to its full abilities. Because like James said, you never know what each adventure is going to bring because each role could be something different.
Sure.
So it's kind of like just go with it. It's better than that. But I mean, I'm sure I've experienced cheating because I've played a few Heroes Unlimited games where I was like, where the person was just like, natural 20.
I'm really glad you're saying that right now. Because I want to ask, or like I want to tell you guys about this specific one that I have up on Reddit. This recent one that was posted, looks like 2 days ago now, and they write, "Am I being jealous, or is there an actual problem?" And I'm gonna just kind of summarize some of it here. But they say 2 players keep rolling nat 20s, and 2 players. They aren't lying or weighted dice or anything. They recently got a quintuple miracle, aka 15 nat 20s in a row. I read that and I was like, that's not fucking possible.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Excuse me.
I mean,
Well, at that point, I have to ask, like, we need specifics. Like, are they rolling out in the open? Is this like the old, I'm rolling,
Behind
in my
the
hand?
he
or,
said,
like,
he says, whenever I try to complain, I get met with, they definitely worked at this. They put so many rolls into this that a lot of responses, I don't know what he's saying right there.
Is he saying that they're so practiced at rolling a die 20 that they can make it roll onto a 20 each time? It's dice tower time, baby.
Yeah, right. and then there's one guy in the comments.
Finally
He's
an
like
argument for it.
I'm saying there's a 3.0517578 18% chance of that happening naturally. It's like, we all know. You say 15 20s in a row. I already know that that's statistically not going to happen.
Look, the last adventure we played that we'll never hear, but we'll have to recap. I did get like 2 natural 20s in a row, but I had James's brother there to be like, "No, he did it," because I was like, getting 2 in a row.
Well, that
seems to me it's
that's
kind
completely 3 in a row could happen. That's like
You
hitting
can't
21
versus
twice
15
in the
though.
casino.
Well,
Like,
no,
kinda-
15's nuts. But what
That's
I'm
excessive.
saying is, it's like even with the 2, I'm sitting there. I was like, no, I don't want you to think I'm lying.
Yeah.
Please, verify me. It's like, because I don't want that to seem like it's going out of the blue. Because I'll roll the 6 and missed.
You know how many natural ones I roll with tons? It's
it's funny.
the same statistics, right? Like 20 versus 1, but it's like I'll play a game with him and I'll roll like 5 natural ones out of 20 or 30 rolls.
You gotta throw those dice away, bro.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, but
I think our friend Avery needs to hang out with these guys.
Yeah, he will ruin their luck.
will ruin their luck, or maybe they'll actually give Avery some luck.
maybe.
Hopefully, it
doubt that,
balances out.
Anyways, I was reading that. I mean, quick recap. What you guys think? Bullshit or not bullshit?
What, the
15
15-20?
20s
That's
in a row.
bullshit.
Bullshit.
Yeah, I'm gonna say bullshit on that
Yeah,
one.
I say that too. Whoever that guy, poster, if you're listening, fuck those guys.
Dice
Or
towers.
just start buying lotto tickets or something.
Yeah, good
Yeah, maybe it's time.
scratchers at least.
Have you ever seen any of the Ocean's movies? Was it
where they have the-
magnetizing the dice? Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that would be great if that was such an
So
elaborate
when I
scheme.
was saying I put the poll on Twitter, and then I was reading these things, and I had no idea that this is such a problem because this isn't a problem for us. But I mean, how many? What percentage? So there's two answers I put people to vote on. It says that they either have or are experiencing it, or it's never happened. Percent wise, if you guys had to guess how many people out there are experiencing this, what do you guys think? Take a guess.
Like 25, 30% maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go a little higher. I'll say 40%.
All right.
I kind of don't want to answer because you were showing me some results earlier today.
It wasn't done. Okay.
Come on, he's cheating.
No, we were- we were-
goddamn cheater.
No,
It's a
well,
table of cheaters.
That's why I said I'm not going
Well,
to
I'll
answer.
say, Brett, you are part of the 52%.
52%.
Jesus.
Right? I know. And it's really crazy to me to think that it's that much of a problem. Like 20, I would have expected maybe 20%, like it's here and there, but I'm surprised that it's that much.
It's actually not that crazy considering everyone at this table actually, now that we thought about it, has experienced it. So I think it's just, and that was actually something that occurred to me as we were answering it, was we weren't really answering like what to do about cheaters so much as like, because people are going to cheat no matter what if they want to. Like you can use dice towers, you can make, I mean, short of like the DM rolling all the rolls or something, like, and even then you're going to piss off players and it's not an ideal situation. Really what you could do is try and address that issue and get them to not want to,
Sure.
Which is a harder thing. But again, if they're like your friend, you should probably maybe put that time in.
I mean, do you guys have a final suggestion? Like, what would you do?
Dice towers.
Well, I didn't even know dice towers exist until your guys' first episode.
Well, neither did I, but now that they do, I mean, it's a tree in the forest.
I give me if I guess it's a problem, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's never really been a problem with me, but I would say that if you're like a new DM starting out and you're kind of worried about that, maybe ask all your guys to roll out in the open where you can see it. Be the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
well, we're addressing what to do as a DM. I'm going to give a little advice or a pro tip to the players out there that are thinking of cheating, don't be an asshole. Like, seriously, that's fucking dumb. Like, I just gotta be quiet. I gotta be.
Don't be dumb.
Yeah, don't be. It's like,
Brett,
really.
you've just lowered our listeners by 52%.
Yeah, so hey, you know what? If you want to go ahead and write in about how you cheated, I'll tell you how much of an asshole you are. But if you want to admit that you cheated and say, you know what, I think that was pretty lame, and I'm gonna move on, and I'm gonna do an honest game from now on, then fucking awesome. I'll give you a high five. But it defeats the whole point or purpose of fucking everything. It's just, it's dumb. It is so dumb.
I'm trying to think of like what Conan would have been like if he like natural 20'd his way through like
the entire thing,
like that disguise. They didn't see through it, and he never had to like go and like get stuck on this tree of woe and stuff.
That movie would be over in 20 minutes.
Yeah, it'd be boring as fuck. I mean, it would have been pretty
No, it would have
cool.
been like 3 minutes. As a kid, he would have just...
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, bad stuff happening to your character like makes them cooler.
Yeah.
I mean, that you can see that time and time again in movies and stuff. So unless you don't want to be cool like Conan, I mean, go for it then.
Well, at Mythic Makings had my favorite answer of the like 5 or 6 people that were commenting on here. He said, had it happened once, then rocks fell on the level 17 character. Never happened again, LOL.
Hey, that's a great example of a DM taking control. Like, fine, all right, cheated.
You're like,
Later.
You're not going to out-cheat
oh
the
no,
DM.
he died.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, that's funny.
because the DM has purview to do. I mean, that's literally his job. Like, so have fun with that.
And then all that's going to do is earn the respect of all the other players. Like, damn, like he just straight up made sure that cheating wasn't happening anymore. And then also reminded them, yeah, if you cheat, I'm going to just fucking kill you. Like, so don't.
Yeah, that's a good way to go. Let's move on to our next main topic for the night, and that's player communication during combat.
Well, I mean, we
It was-
got this topic because it's been brought up on Reddit a couple times and on just in general pacing discussions, because that is one thing a lot of people cite when they're complaining about, oh man, combat takes forever, is indecisive players sitting there being like, oh, I don't know, Brett, and what I should do. And, you know, it's actually a pretty common suggestion is to start either applying like almost like a chess clock or something. And one of the things that I saw recently suggested was limit player communication in combat, because that's also a lot of what goes on in slowing things down is discussing, what should I do? What are you going to do? What blah, blah, blah. And when you look at the fact of the matter is like a combat round is 6 seconds. So you can't be having like this in-depth like strategic debate. And then like, you know, it kind of it ruins the immersion a little bit. So we haven't done it in the past, but I don't feel like we've had a huge problem with players like communicating to each other in character. But the idea of saying like you get 1 or 2 sentences to each other tops, anything more than that, you lose your turn. Next player could be interesting. I'd like to see how that would work out.
Yeah, I mean, we usually institute like a real quick sentence, if that. He's like, go left, go right, you know, or something like that. You take the big guy. That would be kind of like a free give me, but nothing more than that. As far as players' communication about combat outside of combat, yeah, that'll usually either take forever, or if people are really in simpatico, they'll figure things out. Like, Brett and I work pretty well together when we're in games. Mm-hmm. So he'll see what I'm doing, and he's like, okay, I could work off of that. And I kind of take that and extrapolate it back into the game as like, these guys have worked with each other before,
yeah.
So then they know each other's moves, they know how to act. So in that instance, that kind of communication or something like that would be key, as long as you're not gaming the game, of course.
Yeah, no, that's something you guys did really well the last game, and we'll have to cover that in our recap. But no, it was cool. Like it was cool because basically they just kind of organically came up with a really brutal gear spell combo that allowed their 2 characters to just beat the fuck out of this bugbear who had almost no chance. And I mean, I don't want to. Well, I kind of do want to give it away, but I won't. So you'll just have to listen to the recap. But
yeah, it was special.
But it was a really good example of basically them without communicating, just being like, oh hey, if I do this, then this helps out what you did, and then this guy's screwed. So yeah, but I mean. It would be kind of interesting to see how limiting the verbal communication and maybe it's an out of character thing, because that's also, I think, something we may be getting hung up on is the differentiation between like talking in character versus out of character. If we're only monitoring or only limiting the in character communication while allowing players to kind of converse in an unlimited...
I was going to say, I think that out of character, like, we can't help but do that, because when it's one person's turn and they're talking about what they're doing, other players talk amongst each other about what they want to do next, and
Yeah.
maybe like, oh well, maybe if Ovald inspires me, and like you're kind of like talking about it ahead of time, and that's not really in real time like what we're talking about.
You also have to kind of pay attention to what's on the map and what you're playing, though, right? It's like if I'm at the top of the stairs and the guys are at the bottom of the stairs inside a room, they can't see me. They shouldn't know, it's like they can't influence, be like, okay, I'm going to come out here and help him inspire because I know he's going to fight this guy, because you have no idea exactly what that player's going to be encountering. So in that instance, you'd have to be like, I can survey what's in the room and I can help with what's in the room, but I can't do anything to influence outside the room because my character doesn't know that. Yeah. But I, as a player, know that, and it's like, okay, well, this might be where I want to go to. I saw him leave the room, I might follow him. There's like little things like that. But as far as like full-blown communications, like, okay, you kneel down behind that bugbear, and then I'm going to shove him over you so he topples down, so then he's prone. That's way too much to communicate while you're in game. Be like, it's like, try to, knock him off his feet. That'd probably be about the best I think you could manage within a short burst.
Sure.
Yeah, I think part of it is also thinking about what your character knows versus what you know. You're talking about being in the other room. So yeah, it doesn't mean I'm not going to talk to John during the game, but I'm probably not going to try to coordinate with him if he's on the other side of the map. I'll there have been actually plenty of times where I thought, oh man, just inside my head, I really hope he does this or that character does that. But I try to keep a zip lip on it because I don't want to influence their experience. Like if John's got this cool thing in his head, oh dude, I'm gonna do this fucking rad thing. I don't want to be all hey blah 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 blah. Unless we're standing next to each other. In that one game, I was like, hold on a second. But that was just a quick communication. Like 1 second, and then I went and I took that staff. Like okay, so you saw what I was doing. Okay, now do your thing.
Yeah, it was pretty much a cue, and I took it as my character has worked with Ovalt before. So I know he's got tricks up his sleeve, so I'm going to let him do his thing. I trust him to do that.
The old steal the staff trick.
Yeah, but if it might have been somebody else who I wasn't introduced to
It's like the sixth time he's done that.
Fall for it every time.
Stealing people's stabs.
Well, no, it's like if the other characters might have done that, I didn't work with them before. I might have said, no, forget that. Yeah. But I trusted him with that one because that was kind of how we got introduced to each other in the first place. So that's how I was playing it. It's like... You
guys were introduced to the scene when he stole staff from someone with Mage Hand?
No. He was brought into the campaign.
Brought into the campaign.
Having known my character.
Knowing his
it's
character.
Like, man, he does this all the time.
Yeah. He loves stealing people. Dude. Oh, man, when he got that old guy once walking out.
That staff emporium, I'm not allowed in there.
He practices with Mage Handing old people's canes.
Yeah.
Ovalt's kind of a jerk.
Yeah. Also, I think John could see the glint of excitement in my eyes. I was like, no, hold on.
Yeah, don't ruin it. And I was like, okay, I got it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
exciting.
It was really exciting.
He likes to get his hand on that staff.
Oh, yeah, the whole staff. The shieldo staff?
He got both hands on that staff, people. Both hands. But yeah.
There's a glass staff.
Okay. I feel like we're getting off topic.
Not really.
Well, I think we started talking about it.
But I think I do like the idea of maybe doing like some sort of rule where it's like, okay, if you go overboard with it, and I think that one of the reasons we haven't really tackled this in the past is like you guys brought up, people have been in our group at least have been pretty good about not abusing that. But it would be kind of an interesting rule where it's like, okay, you're going a little overboard, that's your action. Pretty punitive. But I don't think it would happen more than once or twice.
No, hopefully you'd learn from that. Yeah. Be like, okay, be a little quicker. And take the time when your turn is done, say you're first at initiative, and you have to wait until it wraps back around again. Take the time to think about what you want to do, and then if someone you're thinking of attacking has been killed, think about your next target, and just keep trying to think what you're going to do, so it kind of makes it a little quicker.
And earlier in your answer when you were kind of jabbing me, and rightfully so, about being a little indecisive at the beginning of my turns.
Well, this goes back to Blood Bowl.
Oh, are you going to bring up that game?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Mr. I take forever and we need the timer.
Yeah.
Legal procedure. Moving on.
I will kill you. But yeah, I mean that wasn't due to player communication. I was just there was a lot going on. I was actually at a real loss in that last combat as an illusionist for how I was going to do anything. I was like, I almost had nothing, but I figured it out.
Got a dagger or something.
Yeah, so I do apologize for delay game, but
Be like the first time you see Oval use a weapon.
yeah.
Actually, has
Oh no, I stabbed that skeleton with a rapier once.
You have a rapier too?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
It's more like a dagger for
I
me.
feel
But
like-
it's like a
yeah.
letter opener.
It seems like in 5th edition, that's the biggest difference I'm noticing is everyone has a fucking rapier. What's the deal? Like, you can't use short swords?
I have a rapier attached to my dagger.
Like,
Because short swords do wimpy damage.
isn't it the same?
No.
Ugh.
Like, or I would have used a short sword.
Really? How much does the short sword do?
It's like 1d6.
Yeah, isn't a rapier 1d6?
No, 1d8.
What?
Yeah.
It's like a long sword.
Oh, it is.
No.
Except
isn't
it's
it?
finesse.
Yeah.
That's just broken.
I gotta
wonder
use that
everyone
more.
uses it.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah,
No one
that's why-
uses scimitars.
That's why I'm always using
Yeah.
rapier, not my
This is
daggers.
a joke.
I don't
I'm calling Chris Perkins.
Yeah.
This is
Go ahead.
bullshit.
Mr. Perkins, your rapiers are broke.
No,
Yeah.
they're not.
But not for me. I'm going to keep using it, so don't change that, please.
I'm also
All
going
right,
to throw
well-
out there that whips are
Oh,
not very
fuck, whips. Yeah, what a dumb fucking weapon.
good. Yeah.
Why is it? What's
They could have been so cool. They're die 4 that have finesse, so you can use your dexterity for it. Cool.
Sure.
And they have a reach of 10. So it's a 10-foot dagger. And I was
You
like,
know what I
that's-
have? That's a sweet 10-foot dagger. It's called a spear.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
a
exactly.
stick with a dagger on it. It
So-
works pretty well.
So you think about a whip, right? And so a lot of people are talking about, well, it's like a tool and you can use it, outside of combat. This, that. I'm like,
Indiana
yeah.
Jones does.
Yeah, but you could also, it seems to me that you could either give it just this little side thing of it gives you advantage on, I don't know, like grappling when using dexterity.
I would let
range
you
10 feet or
grapple
something.
people at range.
Yeah,
use,
something like that.
pulls or like
That's what we were
shoves and
talking about,
stuff.
yeah. Well, and it
Yeah.
was like, what did it say? Like, you can use it to, like, get across chasms and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, you're not going to get across canyons, so if it's just a normal chasm, you can just jump over it.
Yeah. And oh, here's the other thing. It's not a light weapon. So you
What do
can't
you mean?
it's not considered light. I'm doing
Well, I mean,
quotations.
I've never used a whip, so I don't
I
know.
have one like right over there. It's for Wasteland.
Totally.
This
It's just keep it in the dungeon. I get it.
Yeah, right next to the handcuff.
And it is very light. And I was like, really, who's going to be using their whip as their main weapon? Like, oh, I have a shield and a whip. It seems a little silly. Like, I suppose someone's out there has done it, and maybe that's a viable thing. But I more picture someone having a whip in their offhand and then some other weapon in their main hand, and they use the whip to lash someone and then stab them or something like that.
Yeah,
So
like a net.
you can't
like
do
a
that because it's not light. Apparently, it's heavy.
Gladiator already.
So,
Aria.
someone tweet us at Orc-Chop Express of a fucking valid reason to use a whip, and we'll send you some swag.
There you go.
Good luck.
Yeah,
Someone tell me a good reason to use a
Well, I
whip.
mean,
But it better
back
be
in the
good.
day, didn't-
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
like,
actually, I was
legitimately.
reading one. Well, actually,
no,
we'll just see. We'll see.
We'll just see.
I did read some
I mean, you
kind
could
of
probably plumb some of the older books and source books, like especially the AD&D ones, where they had like whole weapon books and find like cat and nine tails and like.
Oh yeah, I mean, I
scourges
can
and
make up
stuff,
tons of
so-
rules that would work, but
I
it's just a
think
shame.
the thing is
It just
about
seems
I could see
underutilized.
I could almost see that being something that's like a class or like some sort of fighter archetype is built around, where it's
Yeah.
like
Or
by
feet.
itself it's pretty derpy, but then like you put like a feat or choose this one fighter specialization, and then you get all these like whip related abilities. That would be kind of cool
Yeah.
for all
So
you
anyway,
homebrew
play-
types.
So anyway, player communication in combat, it's all good.
Just use a whip.
Just
and
use
that'll
a whip
solve all
and
your
keep it short.
It'll solve all your player communication issues. Just get a whip.
Just whip it good.
All right, well, before we wrap up for tonight, let's talk about the things we did wrong this week. So, who's got some shit to fess up to?
Mike.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll
I'll
start with you,
I'll start. So, one of the things that I'm doing wrong this week, or I did wrong in this last game, that I realized is I've been using the 5th edition character sheet app, and it has the weapon stats on there, and I don't know the rules enough like you guys do to know like one-handed versus two-handed. All the weapon says is 1 die 8 plus 5 or whatever the damage is, right? But I'm wielding it one-handed, so apparently Brett was telling me that's actually I should be using 1d6. I've just been rolling a die 8.
What weapon is it?
The long
Talon,
sword?
the long sword.
No, dude. Longsword does 1d8 one-handed and 1d10 two-handed.
Oh,
Fuck you, Brett. I did it right. I didn't do
Alright.
anything wrong this week.
Yeah.
You guys go.
you're right. You didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah,
this week.
you didn't delete
Nothing.
a podcast.
Technically, yeah, I did.
Like the most, like probably
Okay.
the most amazing adventure possible, never to be heard.
Yeah, at school I didn't put much effort into creating that for you guys.
Well,
No,
that's
yeah, that's good. And before the 5th edition character sheet, Walter Kramer, you can find it on iOS and Android.
It's the green D20.
Green D20,
Which is awesome, by the way.
It's a great app if you've got to do something on the run. I like character sheets overall, but it's a great way to even pre-plan characters out and stuff like that. So
Yeah, they definitely fucking got their system down though, because they give you first level for free, and they let you get everything in
Yeah.
there, and you hit level up, and it's like you gotta pay, and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, well fuck it, like whatever.
Yeah,
That was very
that
smart.
It's the app is
microtransaction.
worth it though. I will say for anyone who's like, I don't know if I could pay for an app. Like, talk about an app that's actually worth it the money.
Just the import and export feature. Like if you use Google Docs, it's the easiest thing ever. It's like super fast.
Yeah.
So
Anyone else? What do you guys got?
So actually, this is a little bit app related, but I'm going to blame myself on this because Ovault took Bard first level, and then Wizard every level since. The app had loaded up under the spell DC and my spell attack bonus using his charisma bonus actually,
Oh.
because the Bard uses charisma. So and still would for the cure wounds or vicious mockery that he
so
has.
that app sucks. People don't use it.
So it turns out
Well, you have, to
I've
have,
been,
you have to have kind of a lot of like actual extra things built in to
It's
consider
like
things like
anything.
that.
It's not
have
foolproof. Check your numbers. Obviously.
yeah, I was double
Have
check.
have you like duplicated the character and built it as a wizard first and then taken a bard to see what it does different?
Well, no. So I know what the difference is. It's only so now my spell DC is one higher and my spell attack is one higher. And there's actually you just hold down the your finger on the
The stat like area or whatever.
I think it was I think it's on the actual bonus and it asks you what stat to use as the bonus
okay.
and I just changed it to intelligence because that's what most of my spells do and I'll just keep in mind that for those two to subtract one from that use my charisma
Okay,
bonus.
so yeah, it wasn't the app. I get it.
Yeah, so I should have double checked that, and like you're saying, yeah, double check those things because there's been a couple things where, the app is trying to predict everything you're wanting to do, but there's only so much you can do trying to program all that crap.
Yeah,
in
you need some advanced
Yeah,
build going on there to get all that in.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's there is value to having like a paper character sheet that even if you only like use it to get your stats out once and then you move to something else worthwhile, just so you know where all those numbers are coming from.
Yeah.
Also, I got one more thing that I was doing wrong. And I don't know if this would help out some other players out there. And I'm not super familiar with wizards. I think I've established before, I'm not much of a wizard player. When I was misunderstanding the spells that I could have prepared, I thought, so I had 4 first level spell slots and 2 second level spell slots. So I was picking 4 first level spells and 2 second level spells, thinking that I could only cast each one of those once. But then I realized later that no, I could just pick 6 spells, whatever level within my spell book, and then I could. So, for instance, I could have cast Witch Bolt 6 times if I wanted to. 2 of those times as a second level spell, and 4 of those times as a first level spell, if I wanted to, or Disguise Self, however many times. Whereas I believed I could only cast Witch Bolt once, or Disguise Self once. So that was just kind of stupid mistake on my part, but for those of you who didn't know that, there you go.
Anyone else?
I had one from not the adventure we just played, but the one before that, where we were encountering the red band guys in the forest.
Yeah, the one that didn't get deleted.
The one that you can hear. Go check it out in all means that you can hear it. And the ranger has the ability pretty much to make sure that people don't have issue with difficult terrain. I figured that was in combat as well, but then rereading it, I was like, no, that's outside of combat. So pretty much the most useless skill ever. Cause
Well, it could be in long journeys. It could be cool, but that was one when you told me that I was like, yeah, I'm not worried about that. Like I was kind of thinking of the mind of like, well, ranger needs a little help, so that would, I don't hate.
yeah,
that.
I mean, I didn't think it was the I didn't think it was the worst thing, but of course, I didn't think it would apply to any sort of dungeon or anything like that. It would just apply to being outside because that's
my terrain type is stone.
Yeah,
Rock. Yeah, I remember thinking that was a little odd, but I was like, kind of that same thought of like, well, hey, whatever, I'll
It's
take
like a
whatever it is.
trailblazer. I could see it,
But I think we were even kind of making jokes. Hey, duck under that tree.
Yeah.
And look out for the poison ivy.
Yeah, look out.
yeah, poison oak.
Oh no, there's a deer over there. That's deer poo. But yeah, so that's what I was doing wrong.
Those aren't good berries.
Don't eat
God.
Oh, those are dingleberries.
Actually, real quick, so your character doesn't have good berry anymore? Or made some adjustment to it? Or?
Yeah, so, well, you guys will never hear this, but I swapped out good berries for cure wounds, just because good berries was like a guaranteed I could heal 10 hit points, but that was out of combat. But then I thought about it and I was like, okay, cure wounds, I could potentially heal more than 10 and use it when needed. Mm-hmm. So I just felt that it would scale better versus good berries, which wouldn't scale at all.
A little more utility.
A little bit more utility. And it was like, again, I'd have to wait for us to survive for me to be able to pop some good berries into your mouth.
Actually,
you just come back later. Here you go, buddy.
I was kind of hoping that you were going to bring like blueberries to the games or something like that. Just hand them out. Here you go. Here's some good berries.
No, I'll bring some iodine instead.
Yeah.
Be fine.
I actually just thought of a really quick question we'll just chat about for a second. How do you guys feel about changing characters after they've already been created?
The guideline I took was pretty much, I think it's actually out of the player's handbook. If not, it was one podcast or another I was listening to. Is basically like anything, and I totally agree with this, like anything under 5th level, because that's when your levels start coming a little slower and you want things. And plus, if you haven't figured out your shit by 5th level, you really don't have much excuses. Sure. But I think as long as it's before 5th level, I don't mind changing pretty much anything. Like if you want to do like a race change or something or a class change, that's, at that point you almost might as well re-roll your character, unless it's like still within, like we were talking about, where your theme's staying the same. Like my Viking warrior switching from a, barbarian to a fighter, or like a,
Sure.
a warlock to a cleric. You're still kind of like a shaman-y type character or whatever.
Yeah.
Something like that's fine, or even just like switching your class archetype and stuff like that. Because you're still kind of filling out that character, and you might like the character, but you just don't like how you set it up, or you might have had something with the mechanics where you just didn't realize you had made like a huge blunder, and your character's kind of gimped.
That definitely happens.
Yeah, my brother had a similar thing where he wanted to switch out one of his feats or something, and I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. It fits better with your character, so go for it. Like, and if you just generally most DMs I would imagine are pretty open to that, as long as you just talk to them about it.
Sure.
Yeah, I think level 5 is more than reasonable. Sometimes when you start a game out, you don't necessarily know how the character will play or how it will fit within that DM's kind of environment. So you might want to sit there and be like, well, let me do this. Like me switching good berries out for cure wounds. It was just like, in the end of the day, I was like, this one will be better utility overall versus the kind of guaranteed success of that, but being very limited. So that's why I asked him before, hey, I'm going to switch this out. Same like switching out, certain pieces of equipment, other things like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say 5th level's a safe bet. But yeah, if you're going to completely want to change your character, like change their class or race, then maybe you might just want to think about making a new character.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the time those might be like a concern about experience. Like if your DM's super hardcore about like if you brought in a new character, you'd have to start at level 1. Like, okay, well then in that case it might make sense to have your male half-orc fighter turn into like a female elf wizard or something.
Yeah.
Just so you don't lose your XP or something. But yeah, I mean might as well just switch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, as tip to DMs out there: just remember that your players are trying to figure out their characters, and they're going to have a lot more fun if you give them a little bit of leniency at the beginning to craft and mold, the character that they want to be. If you're too hardcore about it, like, oh, your new character is going to have, no XP, like you're just saying, it's going to kind of turn your players off. Like, that's kind of
Well, it just goes in general, like, and it even comes back to, like, the thing about the barfing bugbear. Like, don't be afraid to give your players what they want, right?
Yeah.
Like, like, it's a fantasy, right? Like, if your players, and that's actually one of the reasons why I did the barfing, or the you guys got the deed to the sleeping giant, because it was just like a throwaway joke, right? In the first session, like, oh, that'd be so funny if we like started a bar, like an adventurer bar, blah blah blah.
I love it though.
Anyways, moving on, and then I was like, oh, okay, and I like wrote that down, and then, lo and behold, when you get to Fandalen, there's like a bar that's got, 2 sentences devoted to it, and I'm like, okay, I can work with that.
Yeah.
So
I feel like it's like when I think about the overall picture of our adventures and all that stuff, I picture them like in between rest, going home, home base to the barfing bugbear, and like having their shenanigans and drinking, and then off to the next adventure.
Well, yeah, and then it also serves to, just this kind of is specific to giving your characters like some sort of a base, which is actually something we've typically shied away from because it's easy to overdo it with that. And that was actually one of the things like the module recommended. It was like, oh, they can, convert the basement of Tressendar Manor to be their like base because it's like a dungeony thing. And I was like, dude, I don't know. Like, I could see that getting a little weird where it's like, oh, we've got a forge and we've got all this stuff, and you don't want to feel like shit's gotten too easy. But something like the, Sleeping Giant, like, it's a pretty crappy place. Like, it's pretty much like 4 walls and a roof.
That's our crappy place.
Not for long.
Yeah, but then that's something that you guys can now generate adventures around. You can, and just from a pure DMing perspective, like, I don't have to worry about, oh man, I gave him way too much gold this time, because I know I can be like, okay, cool. And now something's happened at the Barfing Bugbear, like, brigands have stolen your ale and you need to, people aren't coming anymore, so you need to pay for more, whatever. Like, there's always stuff you can do to kind of mitigate those things. So it gives you a huge tool.
I'm glad you brought that up, because this makes me think of a tip that John taught me. Was that I know he's looking around like, oh Jesus.
I'm sorry.
Was that in a lot of ways, let your players be as powerful or as cool as they want, but just make the bad guys that much more powerful and cool. Just combat that. So
your rival's going to be the owner of the Stonehill Inn. And
well,
like,
I feel bad.
Faces.
We took Elsa from. She was a barmaid at the Stonehill Inn.
She still is technically.
Well, not for long, but. So I remember thinking, oh, we're gonna get this mansion and we're gonna get this bar, and that's cool. And I was also thinking, but that's also responsibility and that's liability.
Oh yeah.
So. Something's going to attack those things at some point, and we're going to have to defend it.
Well, look at every like
whatever.
TV series or whatever, like the heroes like loved ones and all of their attachments in the world, which are cool things, and it makes the players more attached to that world because now you guys actually give a shit about what happens to Fandalen because your bar is there.
Just like Oval gives a shit about Elsa, and you use that against him already.
It's true. It was so awesome.
Not too much of a shit.
That's it for tonight, you guys. I want to say thank you for my DMs being here. John, Brett, Tiffany, thanks for being here.
Bye.
And James. I said his name a second ago, but I accidentally deleted it.
James Houhan.
James. Thanks, James Houhan.
James Houhan, man.
All right, guys, that's it. Thanks. Make sure to check us out on Twitter at Orc-Chop Express. Subscribe to that YouTube channel, and check out more info on our website at theorcchopexpress.com.
Yeah, we should have character profiles up soon.
Oh, yes, cool.
We'll be trickling those out as they get done, so we'll probably be just tweeting them out when they're ready.
And some sweet character art to go with it.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. All right, you guys, go to that website and check it out. Good night.
Don't cheat.
Don't cheat. Don't be an asshole.
Barbarian.